All right, so welcome back. This week or this video, I want to attempt to solve the Canadian housing crisis, not the affordable housing crisis for low income or social housing crisis. I think that's well on the way. The government has been doing a lot to give them credit. They are building a lot of rental units, and they have their housing accelerator fund and their housing catalogs for backyard suites and whatever else. And my purpose, I guess, is not to dump on the government because I always call them out, but instead of doing that, I'm going to come up with my ideas and share my ideas that I've thought about a lot. I brainstorm a lot, and I'm like, how do we make homes for the working class? This is the problem we need to solve. The government talks about solving a housing crisis, but they don't actually specify what that crisis is. And you can see from the results, the crisis is some rental units and density in neighborhoods and homes in people's backyards and this kind of stuff. But I want to see detached homes on a 40 plus foot wide lot in suburban Canada. Yeah, I'm not talking about downtown Toronto or downtown Vancouver. I'm not going to solve that. I don't live there. I have no ideas. You got to build a bunch of big condos and stick people in them, I guess. But I don't live in that area. I'm living the suburban dream here in Canada. And I think that's what most of my clients want. And again, 40 plus foot wide lots and a 1,300 square foot back split. Like, they don't build back splits anymore, or side splits, or raised bungalows, or even bungalows. And if you do get one, it's a custom built thing and it costs a lot of money. So, how do we do that? Well, it's hard, right? It's hard with these lot prices. The reason they don't do it is because the land costs so much, and on paper, they got to sell you a 2,000 square foot plus two-story that fits on a 35-foot wide lot, and they're going to sell it to you for $1 million in Niagara region. And this is where I'm from, and many other suburban areas in Canada. And there's a lot of people that live in these suburban areas. And of course, the closer you get to Toronto and Vancouver and these big cities, you're going to pay more because the land costs more. So I understand that's how the game goes. But let's take a look at what we have now. And as I just mentioned, we have, like, we can't build them any cheaper. Well, of course you can't build them any cheaper because they're so big. And the reason they're so big is because you have to justify the price of the land and the development fees in certain areas. But in my area, development fees, yeah, they're not cheap, but it's not a big issue. In many areas, like the areas I live in, it's the same. In the big cities, I know it's highway robbery. They're fleecing you for whatever they can, and it's ridiculous. So that is another issue. Right now, we have small custom home builders that need to pay exorbitant amounts for a lot, 300 to 400,000 in little old Niagara, where I'm from, and again, many other places. And they have to build you a house for 1.2 million because the lot costs so much, and they have to make it so big. You're not going to put a 1,300 square foot house on a lot because literally the cost of construction will cost less than the lot. So this is why they don't do it. It's all down to the lot. So you have those guys that do it, and then you have the big builders who they buy up big, huge sites, or they make a deal with the landowners and they monopolize that site, and you get what you get from these builders, and they have 10 designs to choose from, or maybe they have a different developer who has 5 to 10 builders in that area, and they control the market, and they say, well, the minimum is a 2,000 square foot detached because, again, we have to pay so much for these lots. And I've seen some of these lots, mind you, and certain builders, they got to pay good premiums for lots. But some of the bigger ones, they come in and I see what they sell them for because they don't even hold the land, mind you. They do a deal on the land with the developer or the owner, and they'll say, we'll pay you when we sell the house when the deal closes. So they pre-sell all these detached homes, and when the deal closes, they actually pay that developer. So they have no land holding costs, some of these big builders. And they pay them, and they're paying them. This is like 2 years ago now, $60,000 to $70,000 per lot in many of these areas. So again, they're not paying $300,000 to $400,000 a lot. They're making good money, and they're doing crappy finishes, many of them in these developments. It's very hard for the average Canadian to go buy a piece of land and then finance the build because you have to pay for that land in cash. There are certain credit unions, I believe, that will do 50-50. They'll give you 50% financing, but it's such a tough ordeal, and you have to have so much cash readily available. And then you have to get a construction loan and finance the first draw before you even get it. So it's really hard. Like, it's not an achievable thing for most Canadians to do. So we're stuck in this middle part of the majority of these middle class working families in these suburban areas. They have no option. They have custom home builder or cookie cutter overpriced crap from a big builder. And this is my opinion. And even if it's not crap, it's still very expensive. What if you could build your own house, sub it out, hire a local builder to do it yourself? But again, getting that land at a reasonable price, getting it from the government. So again, don't like to rely on the government, but when you see our premier spend $75 million on an ad to the U.S., and regardless of what you think of this, your political stripes and whatnot, he spent $75 million on some random ad to prove a point. And yeah, you can say it's for the trade war and the tariff war and all the rest of that stuff. But if that had been spent on acquiring land to develop and sell to Canadians or Ontarians in this case at cost in an area like this and many other areas, and they would have got that money back, mind you, because they're actually selling it at cost. They have to finance it. And with an incentive that they could have a deal with the government to finance this lot for these Canadians that are going to build homes on them, hire a builder. I'm not talking about building your own home like these guys in the background here. I'm talking about hiring a builder, hiring a contractor, subbing it out. Some people want to sub it out themselves. I think I'd hire a project manager myself, but then you could build whatever house you wanted. You want a 1,300 square foot backsplit or a 1,300 square foot bungalow, which is a decent size, mind you, and you can put on a lot for $150,000, whatever that lot costs, $500,000, and you're into this build. Like the numbers work. I run the numbers. I wake up at 5 in the morning sometimes because I can't sleep, and I run the numbers, and it's just like they work. They don't work when you're looking at a $400,000 lot and a 2,000 plus square foot home. Of course, it's $1 million, but we don't need that. We don't need 2,000, 3,000 square foot homes for the average family in Canada. We need, 1,300 square foot, and that's bigger than most of the things built in the 70s. Now, most of the resales I sell are built in the 70s, and they're all like 1,000 and 1,100 square feet, and families are perfectly happy in these things. So we have this fake idea that everyone in Canada needs this big home to show off to all their friends when it's not the case. They would much prefer spend $500,000 and get something humble that they can afford and not have to worry about it. Now, before I go any further, I do have some examples of some land and whatnot. Again, it's a legitimate idea. I'm not talking BS here. I want to, try to give ideas out there. I'm in the business. I see what's happening, and I'm not a developer. I'm not on the commercial end. I don't know everything about this stuff. But again, this is basic math we're using here. But let's look at the housing design catalog first. Just a quick look. I know we've looked at this many times on this channel, but this is the catalog here. Here it is. We've seen it a million times. Now, if you remember, there were supposed to be these density type houses, these secondary units and these multi-unit things, and they were supposed to come out with more plans after for detached homes for, again, the working middle class Canadians. There's been no talk of that. I couldn't even find it on a Google search. But if you remember, I remember there was supposed to be a second set of designs that were coming out at some point that would address those issues. But we haven't seen it. But I just want to read through a couple of key points here on the summary page. This has all been changed, of course, since that initial announcement when they did talk about a second set. Now that, again, it's not going to happen. Maybe it will, but I have heard nothing. Supporting gentle density. Adding more homes to our neighborhoods is a key part of addressing Canada's housing crisis. This catalog makes this easier by providing plans that are focused on infill development and gentle density. So yeah, infill development here. Here are two sets. So the first one is accessory dwelling units. So here you have, these are homes, existing homes, and in the backyard, you have a new unit. And those are the white things are garages and sheds and whatnot. On the right-hand side here on the row houses and townhouses, same thing. You have other units, existing units in the white there, and you have a new unit in the back. So this is their goal, is just to create density and create that missing middle stuff they're always talking about. And that's great. We need it. I'm not saying we don't need it, but that is their sole focus right now. And it's great. It's going to fill a lot of rental demand or gaps that we have in the rental housing market, but it's not going to fix it for the hardworking majority of Canadians. And this is where I focus. And this is why I get so I get so outspoken against this social housing or whatever else people tell me in the comments. You don't know what socialism is. This is great for certain people, but for the people I deal with hardworking middle class Canadians that don't want to live in a backyard and don't want to build something in their own backyard. They don't even have a backyard. A lot of people. So here are the fourplexes. So let's again look at on the left and the right of these fourplexes. You have single detached homes, not multi-unit buildings. And these fourplexes are not much bigger than the existing homes. Some of them, look at the home on the left here, is almost the same size as the first. But look, there's two of them jammed in there. And then on the right there, you have this little or this regular size detached with a garage in the back. So yeah, this is what they want, right? This is what the Canadian government's pushing for, and this is their only plan. There is no plan for the middle class, and this is what upsets me. And this is why I said, you know what? I have lots of time to bash the government, and although I said I'm not going to do it, there'll be a little bit of government bashing in this video. But yeah, here's whatever we've seen it all before, and inspired by our history. Well, our history had single detached homes, not homes in people's backyards and density and all the rest of that. They actually had affordable detached homes on like 40-foot wide lots. That's what they were. Just a little bit of the recent news here from Mississauga.ca. Mississauga partners with federal government on housing catalog. As a local partner, Mississauga is making it easier and more affordable to build homes from standardized plans. And you can read down here, as one of the first municipalities in Canada to sign on as a local partner, Mississauga is continuing to find new innovative ways to tackle the housing crisis. And there they have it. They're going to a head start for those looking to build, and they chose 4 designs that they're going to fast track. It isn't complete yet, mind you, but they are going to fast track these: accessory dwelling unit 1, accessory dwelling unit 2, a 3-story or fourplex, and a fourplex 2-story. So 2 fourplexes and 2 accessory dwelling units that they're going to fast track in their city. And in one of their links, it goes on to say, and this is being the approved partner or whatever with the housing design catalog, benefits of using a housing design catalog plan. You can save time and money by using a housing design catalog plan, as some of the initial planning work is already done for you. While the plans are free, you must get the approval of a qualified professional such as an architect, engineer, or licensed designer with a building code identification number to amend the designs for your property. The city is exploring how to fast-track the building permit application process for builders who want to use a pre-approved plan from the housing design catalog. So again, they don't have it in place, and there's still a lot of steps involved in this. So they're pretty much giving you a $1,000 house plan and saying, here, and we'll fast track it. But you still have to go through most of the other steps too. Getting started. If you own a detached, semi-detached, or townhome, you can build up to 2 additional residential units, ARUs, such as garden suite or a fourplex on your property. An ARU is a self-contained unit or self-contained suite that has cooking, living, sleeping, and washing facilities. Anyway, so yeah, you want to throw something in your backyard? No problem. Throw it in your backyard. Neighbors won't mind, by the way, which brings us to our next article, or a couple of articles here. There is some buyer's remorse, or some builder's remorse, I should say here. This was just from October 23rd. Kitchener residents riled up over size of a backyard build. Residents are voicing their concerns about an additional dwelling unit being built in a Kitchener backyard. It's a 1,600 square foot home, explained David Weber, who lives next door to the property on Dune South Drive. From what I understand, that's 800 square feet on the main floor and 800 square feet in the basement. So they're pretty upset that this thing's popping up. And you see it in the backyard there. This is someone else's yard looking in, and you're going to have a window looking. And it's it's bigger than a garage and bigger than a shed. And this thing is now smack dab in the middle of a bunch of yards. And they're upset. And listen to what the city councilor has to say. So the first thing they have to say is they talk about the size of the unit, and it's just under the maximum amount of square meters, in this case they're using, and the height. The maximum height of the building is 4.5 meters. So they built it right to the max. They're meeting the zoning bylaw. So they're using, but it goes on. Listen to this. Christine Michaud, Kitchener's Ward 4 councillor, met with residents who were upset with the approval of the additional dwelling unit. For this particular one, yes, I'll be honest, yes, I do think it's against the spirit of the bylaw. It's still absolutely legal, and it's what we agreed to, she told CTV News. So, Yeah, like they're pushing the limits on these things. And then we get into next one in London, I believe this is. Councillors admit recent housing policy went too far. Support limits on bedrooms. And this is from October 21st. So, yeah, there's too many bedrooms, and now they're supporting limits. So, London got a big handout from the government, too, for their Housing Accelerator Fund. A motion that would place new limits on the number of bedrooms permitted in additional residential units was unanimously supported by the Planning and Environment Committee on Tuesday. So yeah, so they said, here, you can build these new additional units, and then people were like just jamming bedrooms in there. Like they didn't actually think about this, and this is what's happening. They're abusing these bylaws and these zoning amendments now. Okay, so that's the drama with the Housing Accelerator Fund and the catalog of homes or whatever it's called. But let's get back to that affordable land, build your own place, 1,300 square feet. And I have some information on it here. And again, this is a possibility. It's a very good possibility. Now, will the government ever let this happen because they're going to piss off a bunch of developers and builders? And, there's too much bureaucracy involved in this. But again, this is in the best interest of Canadians. Right now, we've been held ransom by all these developers setting prices, taking over the conglomerates, right? There is no middle class, whether you're purchasing a home now or the government's going to do something about it legitimately so that you can buy one or build one yourself. Just a quick stat here from the home builders. This is from IBIS World, something to do with the home building associations here. So businesses, there's 51,000 builders in Canada. There is so many small and medium-sized builders. Like they would love to be able to just call them up, say, hey, I got a lot, in an approved subdivision here, and I've got it all covered out. Let's build something. Can you build something? Yes, no problem. Let's do it, right? So they would be all over this, the small builders. The big builders, they wouldn't like it, but they probably would get involved too and deal with it, right? And this is, again, focused on end users, middle class, hardworking Canadians. So just for a couple of examples here in my area, again, I'm not promoting these listings. I hate to talk about listings on here because people are like, yeah, I didn't give you permission. But again, I don't care. I'm not promoting these listings. But here's one here, $4 million. And again, a lot of these lands were purchased with the intention of putting like millions of townhomes on them. It probably even says it in the description, but this is an 11-acre parcel of land. And yeah, if we could get funding, if the government says that, hey, I'm not going to spend $75 million on an ad to bash some guy in the U.S., maybe we're going to create a program to help Canadians so they can build their own homes. And so the government doesn't have to build them for them because we don't want the government building our homes, but we want affordable land and I'll pay for it. So here's one here. This works out to, even at the listing price here of $4 million, 11 acres, 5 homes per acre. Tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm right, but whatever, I'm in the ballpark. That's like 80 grand a lot, and you got to develop it and whatnot. So whatever, you could do that. I think it's like 50,000 for development per lot or something it works out to, but 150,000 bucks. Let me buy one of these lots. The city can do it, the province or whoever. And yeah, I'll build a house within 2 years. Done. I'll hire a local builder or like local contractors, and we'll do it. And the economy is going to be booming. And then you know what? We have a new house there that's built, funded. We don't have to wait for any developer to crunch all their numbers to make it worth their while in 5 years down the road because they can't do it now. And you know what? We got another listing because I'm going to put my house on the market once this thing's built, and boom, you got inventory coming online. But it's a great fix. And anyway, let's look at the next one here. Here's another one here. Sorry, that first one was within the urban boundary. This one's just outside it, but they're talking about expanding it. It's right beside the urban boundary. It might even be in it by now. But regardless, the city can do this. Yeah, 11.5 million. I forget how many acres it is. 26.4 acres. I think it works out to $88,000 a lot, a 40 or 50-foot lot. And yeah, again, 150 grand, you could be into a lot. Government can help you out, give you a 1 or 2 year loan at a normal rate, finance the thing. And that's all we need. We need some real programs, not some friggin' housing accelerator fund giving money to cities that don't even use it so we can have homes in our backyard. And we also have that the CMHC, the rental program to build all those rental units, 50-year mortgages. So everything is geared right now towards just this density that doesn't help middle-class families looking for their own place. Anyway, here's another one here. This is in Thorold. They just built houses. Look at even in the map there. There's other homes right near there. So again, services would be needed out here, I'm guessing. But Thorold supposedly is very easy to deal with. 8 million bucks for 46 acres. And again, sale price, you're like 30 to 40,000 a lot in there, and 5 lots per acre, even less, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the numbers work. 100 grand. You want a lot for 100 grand fully serviced, even if it's 150. Maybe it costs more to develop land than I'm letting on here. It doesn't matter. 150, 200 grand, whatever these lots cost. I always said, if I can get a lot, 200 grand, I'll build a house. And that's 200. I think they should be less in my area anyway. As you get closer to GTA and Toronto, I'm sure, of course, prices go up, land goes up. You're closer to the city. I understand. But not on Niagara. You shouldn't be paying $1 million for a new house in Niagara, and you shouldn't be forced to buy a 2,000 square foot plus home just because you want to detach. You should be able to buy 12, 1,300 square foot, build it yourself, design it yourself, pay the architect $2,500, $3,500 to give you some plans from an existing design and modify them to your own need. Anyway, let me know what you think about that. Do you think this is a feasible idea? I think it is. Again, I think about it all the time, but there's a lot of hurdles to jump through with the government and whatnot. But they could do it. They could make it happen. They've paid off cities to put houses in your backyard, like they couldn't buy some lots and subdivide them, or pay the cities and the municipalities or the province, whoever it is. It can be done. They're just their heads in the wrong place. It's totally in the wrong place. All right, here, just a couple of articles here, not too much this week. Clawback clauses hit hard as pre-con closings collapse. So if you don't know what this is, I'm going to click on the article here, actually. So a clawback clause is when some agent sold some pre-con to a buyer, some speculator most likely, in a year, 2, 5 years ago. And what happens is they'll sell a pre-construction condo, let's say, or even a townhouse or a detached in some cases. But usually this applies a lot to condos and apartments. And so they get paid a portion of that commission once that deposit structure has been paid. So the builder or the developer will say, okay, thanks for the deal. Your buyer has to pay us within 120 days, 150 days, whatever the case is. We want 15,000 a month, and you give them up to there's all sorts. It could be up to 100 grand. And once the deposits are done being paid by the buyer, then the agent gets a part of their commission. Maybe it's a third, maybe it's a half, but they get it. The deal hasn't even closed, but the builder has a nice deposit and they can pay the agent 10 or 15,000, whatever the case is. But 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, the deal doesn't close because the buyer can't close, the appraisal doesn't come in. Well, now the builder says, hey, I got a clause in there. If the buyer doesn't close, I want my commission back. So this is what's happening. They're hitting hard right now, and I'm just going to read a couple of things in this article. It's a situation every realtor dreads. A buyer wasn't able to close their new construction deal. It was signed months, maybe even years ago, and the agent was already partially paid. Those funds are long gone, having been used to run their business and their life. Now the developer is demanding those funds back in full. It's a reality more realtors face in a market experiencing an uptick in failed new construction deals. The numbers are dismal. Urban Nation reports 10 projects were canceled in 2025's third quarter alone, bringing the year-to-date canceled totaling to 18 projects, 4,040 units. Prior to 2022, it was rare to see a deal fall through, said David Ionco, partner at McHugh Whitmore law firm in Stoney Creek, Ontario. In recent years, it is unfortunately a common occurrence, and I refer failed deals to litigation on what seems like a weekly basis. Anyway, it goes on. I'll leave the link in the description for this article. But yeah, this is what's happening. And I know I worked with somebody, and they had like 100 of these things way back. I think all of them closed because they were prior to the last couple of years. But I remember when he told me, he says, yeah, like if they don't close, we got to pay them back. I said, that's a huge liability. He says, I know, but hey, we made a lot of money at the same time. And our former prime minister, the great Justin Trudeau, was just seen with his new astronaut girlfriend, astronaut Katy Perry. Made it formal. And yeah, he did some really great things for the housing market. And I thought I'd give him credit here. And lastly, if you haven't seen this poor guy in Edmonton, I believe it is, there were some fireworks. The guy was in his house, and his place burnt down. Anyway, check this out. Unfortunate, but you got to watch out there with your fireworks.
The fireworks were quite loud. My daughter came out of her room saying there was an orange glow in the backyard. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I looked out and like, that's obviously a fire, and looked back out, confirmed that. We got out of the house and called 911.
What are damages looking like? Car, garage?
Car, garage. There's some holes in the roof. There's a hole in my daughter's bedroom roof. The back of the house is pretty scorched. Possibly some roof damage. So stop the fireworks. Increase the fines. It's $1,000 fine right now. It should be 10,000, 5,000. My house is gone. Celebration for your holiday, that's fine, but it should not be result in my house burning down. Period. It's dry. It's very dry out, and we're setting off fireworks. As I was talking to the fire department in their truck, fireworks are going off all around our neighborhood. Right in the parking lot at Mary Brown's last night. After the fire trucks are still here. Fireworks are going off in the neighborhood. It has to stop.
All right. Thanks for making it to the end. Let me know in the comments, do you think that is a reasonable goal or solution to the middle class housing market, the housing crisis, whatever you want to call it, for the middle class working Canadians, that we could have some sort of attainable goal of having a finance lot where we could hire our own builder, hire our own project manager, and build whatever size house we want where it actually made sense instead of being forced to buy these ridiculous homes that we don't need with high ceilings and whatever else. Anyway, let me know in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you then.